Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to all. So as what Dr. Didi mentioned, Dr. Diana mentioned just now, so I'm going to actually explain about the literature review part. So why actually we are going, it's not like drastically, we directly go to the literature review part, which is chapter 2 of your thesis, instead of chapter 1, which is, chapter 1 is, we have the introduction, we have the objective, scopes, and proposed statement and so on. So why we do not delve directly into the chapter 1 is because in order for you to come up with chapter 1 contents, you need to go through literature review first. You need to review the past papers on research done on the similar topic that you are doing for your final year project. Okay, so let me just introduce myself if those who not know me, but I think most of you know me. Okay, because I think most of you are for BECAM, which is for BECAM section 1 student. I already taught you guys from since year 1. So 1 BECAM and then 2 BECAM and so on. So I think my face is not that, is quite familiar to you guys. So for today is that I'm going to go through the literature part, which is I will take 2 hours, 3 to 5 p.m. Okay, so hopefully that I can finish it by 5 p.m. because I have roughly about 100 plus slides. But I will go through fast, means that one slide, maybe 1 minute or less than that. Okay, so a little bit about myself. So you just go through. So I'm actually graduated from Tokyo Institute of Technology, Japan, under precision engineering field. So if anything, any question regarding literature review, if you want more detail or you are concerned about, you don't know how to actually go to about the literature review, of course, the first thing that you must refer to is your supervisor for final year project. But if you still kind of confused what to do, then you can email me. So you can email me. My email is here in the slide. So mariam@utem.edu.my. Okay, so for today is that this is the briefing outline. So it looks simple. So we have 3 main things that I'm going to cover, which is what is research. So what you're doing right now is the final year project. So it's basically the lowest level in research, which is the final year project. We have the second level, which is the master by research or master by thought course, and then the third one is in the PhD. So the final year project is the lowest in the research category. And the second one is that on the research sequence step by step. So I'm going to also brief regarding what are the step by step procedure for you to undergo the final year project. When I mention final year project, means that it's including final project 1 and 2. So I'm going to actually explain it in the 2 FIP 1 and 2. So what you need to do is that first step is on the literature review, is the important part of your FIP 1. So literature review is the most important, so I'm going to give that topic today. And from the literature review is that you are going to find out what are the problem with the current research being done. So maybe some problem or something that has not been done by other researchers. So you want to add on to that research. So that one is one of the opportunity that we can take into account for your research. And the third one is on the bibliographic style or the reference style. So Dr. Diana mentioned about the plagiarism. So there are a lot of things that actually when you cite, especially in literature review, you're going to cite lots of paper, and when you cite lots of paper, you're going to refer to each of this paper. But if you do not cite this paper, then and you do not actually paraphrase the sentences. So that is what it means by plagiarism. Okay, taking a sentence by sentence from the paper and taking it into making it your own sentence in your thesis. So that is a no. And for the final year project is that the similarity index for similarity index percentage is that it must be less than 30%. Okay, less than 30%. If more than 30%, like what Dr. Diana mentioned, so means that directly when you submit a report more than 30%, directly your FIP 1 will be 0. Okay, so no marks, you fail lah, basically. So this one should be mentioned earlier since we are in week 2. So this one should be ideal time for you to actually know about the rules. when writing out the literary review. So let's go to the, so everybody follow? Am I too fast?
No, madam. Okay, madam.
Fast? Okay, alright, so okay, because I'm talking to myself right now. I do not see any faces, so I like talking to myself. Okay, so let's go to this next slide, which is on the sequences step by step. So this is what normally I explain to my final year project student, no matter my final year project student, my master student, or my PhD student. So for the final year project is that it actually comprised of the two final year project, which is okay, which is you have the final year project 1 and final year project 2. So for the first part is that what you did last week was on the topic selection, which is step number 1, topic selection. So in the topic selection is that you blindly select the title, right? So you do not know who's the supervisor. So you only have a title that you think you are interested in. So whereby you select that title. So after selecting this title is that next thing is that you're going to do the literary review search, but based on the guidance of your supervisor. So second step will be on the research planning. So how you are going to plan out for your final year project 1 and 2. Okay. So this one is you need to work you see hand by hand lah. If you're here in UTM, then you're going to work hand by hand with your supervisor, okay, on planning out your Gantt chart. Okay, so what you're going to do in FYP 1 and what you're going to do in FYP 2. So after that doing so basically in this part is that what you need to do by this week. Okay, by this week please go and discuss with your supervisor. So this week what you're going to do, come out with your own Gantt chart. And then for step number 3 is that background investigation. So this is what we call as the literary review. So if you look into a thesis at the library, for example, I have one thesis here of my final project thesis. So in this thesis is that chapter 2 is on the literary review. So you have a full chapter on that literary review, and mostly in for student final year project is that they are going to have roughly about 20 pages of literature review. Okay, for master student mostly is about 40. Okay, master student. And next step is to how to formulate the problem. So after reading all of the literature review, then only you can come up with the problem statement. Therefore, that's why for today the first for the first session for the final year project 1 is that we are going directly to do the literature review. Then only you can come up with the problem statement. So this problem statement is that to find what are the gap, what hasn't been done by other researcher, or what things that you can implement. Okay, so this one will be covered, and mostly this step 3 and 4 is covering in chapter 2. And step number 5 is that formulating the objective and scope. So after you have found out what is the problem statement, what is the problem with the current research, what you want to implement or improve on the current research, so you come up with your objective and scope. So objective, normally we have minimum two objective, maximum 3 objective. So maximum is only 3, minimum 2. Cannot 1 objective, 2 to 3 objective. And scope is the limitation of that research work. Okay, so step 1 will be step 5, which is be under chapter 1. Okay, in your thesis. And step 6 will be creating new solution. So if you see here is that what does it mean by creating new solution is it's what exactly means. Is actually coming up with your methodology. So how you are going to design the setup, how you are going to do the analysis. So what type of method that you're going to implement. For example, if your topic is on controller, so what type of controller do you actually implement? Is the system a linear system or is it a non-linear system? So which one is much more suitable? So these are all based on the methodology that you have read in the literature review. Okay, so that is why literature review is important in the beginning of a project or beginning of a research. So as you see, that one will be covering chapter 3. And as what Dr. Diana mentioned is that normally in FYP 1 you have the chapter 4 which is preliminary result or preliminary experiment. So you have a little bit of analysis. At least you have some simulation work done or simulation analysis done. So you can actually include that in your chapter 4 on the final year project thesis. Okay. In final year project 2, most what we expect or what the supervisor expect is that, okay, what you expect is different, and what supervisor expect is different. What supervisor expect of the student is that your setup is already done in final year project 1. Your setup, the whole thing, you have already assembled your setup. You have actually connect all the sensors to the setup. You just left with some experiment or simulation analysis to be done in final year project 2. So, but most of the times, most of the batches of final year project for BEKM, I don't see that. Final year project 2, at the beginning of final year project 2, in week 1, 2, they don't come and see the supervisor. They only come in week 4, and then only come, oh, I don't have the result yet, I don't have the setup, and so on. So they are rushing for it. So that is why what Dr. Diana mentioned about, do not procrastinate, do not delay your setup. So if you can do it by final year project 1, that's much better. So that in final year project 2, you can actually focus on doing the analysis. Okay, so in final year project 2 is that you are going to do the simulation experiment result, do the testing your method for data collection. And then step 9 is communication of result. So analysis, after you run the experiment, you have graph, and then you have to analyze it. Okay, so analyze, do some synthesis, and so on. So this is where you're going to have the skill of analyzing your data. This is where final project is different from IDP project. So this one will be on chapter 4. And lastly is step number 10 is conclusion and recommendation. So what can you conclude on FIP? Is your objective achieved? Objective 1, 2, 3, is it achieved? No, not achieved, then you can get an A, basically. Okay, if you want to get an A, most of the time is that you have to achieve all of the objective written at the beginning of FIP 1. So total 5 chapters that will be covered. So what is research? I think you can just go through this slide. So research main here is the studious inquiry of examination, especially investigation of experiment aimed at discovery and interpretation of facts, revision or accept theory of law in lab, blah, 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 and so on. So it means that you're going to do a detailed work or investigation on a topic. And what you should know is that, okay, what is research should be about some problem that encourage it for you and interest for others, or is often generated from the thought what we have gone through now from past isn't quite good. All right, we can do better. So this is what it means by, okay, based on the previous researcher, is can anything be done to improve the current setup? Okay, so this is what it means. Even if, for example, my final project student, most of my final project student, they already have a setup in the lab. So what they do is that they improve and the controller and so on, add the new sensor to actually add on the analysis and so on. So this is what they do. They focus on the analysis, not doing a new setup altogether. Okay, so, and it consists of work that leads to meaningful contribution, right? Okay, so this one you can read through. So actually research is a set of opposites. It can be either fun for you or frustration. So fun, if your progress is really good, then you feel happy with it. But you will get frustrated if you don't have good result. Your supervisor keep on asking, but where is your progress? Where's progress, weekly progress? But you do not actually present it, or you actually MIA, missing in action. Okay, I have last semester, during semester 2, we have the pandemic COVID. So the final year project meeting was actually converted to online. So out of 5 students, normally 4 students or 3 students only come out to the online meeting. And I'm not sure what happened to the other 2 students. So take note on this. If you do not come to online meeting, the lecturer or your supervisor will actually take note that you do not attend the weekly progress. Hence, you do not have mark for that weekly progress. So take note on that, because if you don't show progress, then actually you didn't do anything for that week. That's why you didn't come up. You didn't appear in the progress meeting. That's all lah. If you don't have any other excuses, okay. So small steps and large insights. So small steps, if you do it weekly, then it's a small steps. Okay, and large insight, you can actually learn much more during this final project on your own. Building on other works and contributing on your own work. So these are the things that actually what you will go through by the throughout the 2 semester. So just skip this. So what it takes is that creativity. Need to be creative. You cannot be like what you did during IDP, depend on other people. Okay, because IDP is mostly group project, it's a group project, but final project is independent project. You are alone with your supervisor. Okay, you're going to work on one project and you're going to be guided by your supervisor. So be creative on that. Okay, open-minded to critics from your supervisor, because normally you don't know a lot of the stuff. So when your supervisor critiques to improve on it, then please just take it as a positive way. Because later when you start working, if you're being critiqued by your manager, is it that you are going to just take it off? Okay. Curiosity. So curiosity is that something that you're curious about. Let's say that once you read through all the papers, you find out that I do not understand the first sentence. Okay, so because when
Mute.
you pardon, hello, when you read more and more, actually you will find out that you know nothing. Okay, so you need to read more and more. Patient is virtue, so be patient. Patiently try to cope with the situation of this pandemic. Okay, we'll try, even the supervisor will try to cope with it. Persistence, keep on persistence, positive attitude and discipline. So discipline and focus. Make sure that, because why all of this is important, especially discipline or focus, is that for the final year project, you do not have any class schedule. Okay, no class schedule unless your supervisor put one schedule into your slot to have that as a progress meeting. Okay, so that you can actually show to your supervisor what do you have learned during the past 1 week. So weekly progress. So if you do not have that schedule, then you are actually on your own. Okay, so it's best to have time management. Okay, Okay, this one is a type of research. So there are two types. Research can be divided into two types: quantitative and qualitative. So if you see here, quantitative is something use of statistical formula or numerics method. So it's actually what you are, when you do experiment, you have graph and so on. So this is example result is this solution is n% better. So from the graph, you can actually make a quantitative summary on it. And second one is that qualitative. Qualitative is something which is not quantitative, is vice versa to quantitative. So it's something that you can measure by the quality of something rather than quantity. So main approach is that you discover it, you eliminate or understand or extrapolation to similar circumstances. So results, example of something that you can write in your thesis later on. This is a new way of solving our problem. Okay, in that past researchers, they are using method A to solve it, but you come up with a method B to solve it, and no paper or no researchers actually publish that they are doing method B for it. So that is one way of doing research. And this is what I mentioned in the beginning. So we have the 4 types of research. You are down here, underneath here, undergraduate student final year project. And then we have the graduate student, we have master and PhD degree. And then we have researcher at the industry. So for example, we have in Infineon, they have the R&D department. In Proton, they have the R&D department. So they have the R&D department or R&D engineer to actually come up with the design, new design, test out everything. Okay, so this one researcher in the industry. And we have researchers at university, similar to what we have here in the industry. These are these are those who have PhD. PhD, they are working at the university as a postdoctoral student. So postdoctoral mainly focusing on research, okay, contributing to research. And faculty members is like the supervisor, your supervisor, doing research at the university level. So so what actually can you contribute as the as undergraduate student here. So if you see here is that what you can contribute is at the local to national to world level. So example is that um, we have issues of okay, for example, we have the world level issues on the COVID pandemic COVID. So if you're doing research on that to actually come up with a vaccine and so on, so you are actually contributing to the world level. So this is researcher and graduate students lah. So if you're final year student, you can contribute to the world level, then maybe you can actually come from the final year project, you can directly go enter the master degree, master research, register as master research, and then continue get a master degree. Okay, but for you guys at undergraduate level, you can contribute to the local up to the world level. So local is example of you have the sungai, pencemaran sungai, so pollution. So how can you detect the water pollution earlier, not after it's already polluted the whole river? So water pollution. So this is what you can do, contribute to the local, or for example, in Melaka we have Sungai Melaka, or we can contribute to the soil, the pollution of the soil and so on, right? So level of research, okay, you already know that we have team or group research, which is what you have done in IDP project, and right now you are in final year project doing the individual. So most of the time when you talk about team project is that it's easier because you have division of labor here, and then you can get feedback from team members, and each member can work on their own strength. But when you are doing a final project is that you have your own strength, and hopefully by having a good guidance from your supervisor, you can actually build up your soft skill and actually technical skills. So let's go to the sequence of research. So right now is that you are at the topic selection, initial idea here. Okay. And then next you're going to do the planning. So Gantt chart, you can discuss with your supervisor. Then we are going to do the literature review, then come up with probable statement. Next on the methodology. And then after methodology, you can come up with the list of experiment that you're going to implement. So testing your method. Okay, so method that you propose is something that you can apply later during your experimental work. So this one is important. Okay, if you do not actually design your methodology so that you can analyze the data, so then it's not going to actually be useful for you to run the experiment. Okay, number 7 is communication of results. So after you get the graph, don't simply put the graph into the thesis, because if you just put the graph and then do not do any synthesis or analysis on the graph, then you won't get marks on that synthesizing of the graph. And lastly is the conclusion and recommendation. So most of the time, because when you have already completed the whole project, you find out that you can actually recommend what can be done next in this research, because you might not be able to complete everything. Means that you find out that, oh, I can actually add another sensor here to actually evaluate the performance. So this one you can recommend in your future work. And chapter 5, okay, topic selection, I just skip that. Just want to focus on, okay, skip. Oh, sorry, I skip this one. Later I give you the slide. Okay, so this one will be on the research planning. So this one is important. Please come up with your Gantt chart, which is come up with both for final project 1, FYP1, and final project 2. And manage your schedule. Okay, when means that manage your own schedule when to do your final year project. Okay, because you are in your hometown right now. So when at home, where, okay, what, with who, or with your supervisor? Do we have any meeting with supervisor, and who? Okay, weekly progress meeting with supervisor, continuous logbook assessment. So some of the supervisor will give you logbook. Some for like the case like myself, I do not have logbook, but student need to present in terms of slides. Slides, roughly about 10 slides weekly. Okay. And number 4 is report drafting. So make sure that what Dr. Diana mentioned just now is to use the final year project thesis template, the template of the report as something that you can actually continuously draft it. So start with that draft. In chapter 2, start off with literature review. Okay, now we are going to go to literature review, chapter 2. So before that, I'm going to just show to you, this one Dr. Nana showed to you, but I'm focusing on the report part, which is on, if you see here, literature review background, you have the analysis of information, synthesis, evaluation. So these are the three main things that student need to actually able to explain in their report, because not explain lah, that you are able to write in your report, because you're not going to explain to the panel in the report. You are going to write it out, and the panel will be reading your report. Okay, so how, if your report has lots of grammar error, then it's not good to read lah. Okay, contents may be there, but grammar is important. Okay, and next is on the report presentation and writing skills. So this is important because one, panel will be evaluating, giving mark on this. Your supervisor will not be given marks, because your supervisor is the one who actually should guide you to actually write a good report. Okay, it means that according to format, references, is it according to reference style, format, does the student follow the format, writing skill, okay, organized in a well-constructed paragraph, and so on. So this one is the supervisor task to actually guide student. Means that command, not guide how to write a sentence. No, not that. That one is you learn in the technical English class, in subject. So what supervisor do should be is that you are going to submit the first draft of the report, then the supervisor will give command. Okay, so this one not good grammar, so redo again, and so on. Right? So what I'm going to share to you on the review is that on these three main part, which is analysis of information, which is here is that meaning is breaking information, synthesis meaning integrating information, and evaluation is give value to research topics. So this is three main thing, which is I refer to the title. Okay, so this one is just the explanation. So let's start with the first one, how to do the literature review. So anyone have an idea how to do a literature review? Can anyone unmute? Anyone have an idea how to do literature review?
No.
No? No idea? Zero. But what did you do in your IDP project last time? Did you do any literature review background? No? Anyone? One more? I want two students to answer. Anyone?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Oh, what is yes, madam? What do you know about literature review? No? Okay lah. Bagi chance lah Bagi chance. Okay. Alright. Right,
Hello.
who unmute there? Suhail. Okay, Suhail. Can you share what do you understand about literature review?
Actually, it depends on previous research that have been done by the researchers,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to come up with all the ideas that they come up, and the things that they didn't do, and you will be able to do what they don't do.
Alright, okay. Good. Good answer. Alright, here I see in the chat is that write about previous work. Okay, that is good. Must find out other literature that is related to final project and review that. Okay, good. Searching previous paper that relate with the project. Okay, good. So, what I'm going to share to you is on the detail, how to do it step by step. So, first one is that what you need to do is that if you look at this slide is that on the process of analysis. So what does it mean? So you are actually at this first point, literature review process. So you are at the present state. Where are we at the moment? So you only know what is your topic, right? You only know what is your topic, but you do not know what you should do. but I think most of the lecturer BEKM already shared to you the abstract, right? So in the abstract is that you have the introduction a bit, you have the objective, you have what method that your student going to use, and you know that in the end what expected outcome that student need to achieve. So actually the lecturer already give to you a bit of an idea what is the project about. So but anyway, just don't limit yourself to that abstract. So we can look at this one. Where are you right now? Right now you have your title. Okay, current research. So what is the gap analysis? So gap analysis is something that after you have done the review, you come up with some, you relate all the past researchers done on the topic that you are going to do. Means that the keyword, what are the keyword based on the topic? Okay, based on that, you synthesize all the information and come up with your problem statement. What is your motivation for it, objective and scope. And then based on that is that you come up with your methodology, result analysis. Okay, so after that, when you have gone through all FYP1 until FYP2 until up here, so you can actually answer, is your objective achieved? So if you have done all this from point 1 to point the end point here, that means that you have achieved your final year project 2. Okay, so what is literary review? So if you see here is that we have a lot. This is what it means, that literature survey, recognizing new problem, theoretical and concept, okay, and so on. So if you see here is that literature review is about reviewing all the past research done. So and it must be something that already published from books, from papers, journal papers, from conference papers, and so on, from article, from magazine, and so on. Okay, so those are the things that you're going to review. You cannot just simply say that I'm going to do a project on A, but there's no background studies. You cannot cite it because there's no background studies. Okay, so and if you see here, after you have done all the literature review, you actually can come up with each component in the chapters of your thesis. So if you see here, literature survey, recognizing new problem, theoretical and concept is actually under chapter 2. And then in chapter 3, you will find out that you can actually identify of independent and dependent variable, measurement and operation definition, selection of appropriate research technique. So what method you are going to use, and sampling strategy. So these are all that after reading all those papers, you can come up that, oh, this is all several types of method that can be done for this topic, for this research. So you can categorize this under chapter 3. Of course, you can, we do not say you copy paste, you cut and paste. No, you follow how they do the research, what method they use, what analysis type they use, what type of graph they plot, and so on. And lastly is that based on this strategy method that you actually propose, you can do the statistical technique, means that do analysis, run experiment, okay, and synthesize your result, and finding the conclusion of similar studies. So this one will be under chapter 4, okay, summary. So where do you actually find all of these literature review sources? So there are few sources here, if you see. So one, the first one is that read outside the area, means that if your topic is, for example, if your topic is, I take my student title, grasping motion control of a robotic hand mechanism. Okay, so it means that his topic is on motion control, and his subject is on robotic hand. Okay, so it means that he can actually, when he do the research or do the literature review, is that he's not constrained to the motion control only. He can actually use a keyword other than motion control, for example, tracking control, okay, point-to-point control for that. Okay, and not only limited to robotic hand. For example, if motion control, you can apply for some PID controller or AI. Okay, and these controllers can be applied to many type of system. Okay, example for actuator and so on. So you can use that to categorize it into the literature review part. Second one is the book. So you can refer to book, journal paper, and so on, internet, database, archive, interviews, and reports. But the one that you are going to refer for this final year project is this one, from journal and conference paper and books. So this one is the main sources that you're going to refer. Do not refer to website. Website, sometimes website will be outdated, then you cannot refer to that link anymore. Okay, so why literature review is that without it, you will not acquire an understanding of your topic, of what have already been done on it, how it has been researched, and what the key issues are. So this one is really important. So if you have not completed your literature review, you will find out that you still not conscious about what you're going to do, what is your objective, what is your scope, and so on. So the process of literature review, I break it down into 6 parts, which is first one is collect source. Okay, so using keyword. Second one is analyze. Third one is synthesis. Fourth one is arrange it, and then fifth one is evaluate. Okay, lastly is that start writing your literature review. So you cannot actually proceed to start writing your literature review here if you do not do the process 1 to 5. So this one is really important. So most of the time is that I look at some student report, thesis report, is that they are lacking few of this, especially under synthesis and arrangement of the literature review. Okay, they only analyze it. They take one paper and analyze it and make it into a sentence, summarize it. That is wrong. And for today is that I'm going to share to you the example of good literature review and poor literature review. So step 1. Okay, everybody clear? Am I too fast? Okay. Am I too fast?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay,
No,
okay.
okay. Alright, step 1 will be on collect sources. So collect sources there, finding your references. So there are lots of references. Normally when for my student, I will ask them to find out what are the 5 main keywords reflecting to your title. Okay, based on that keyword, find for each keyword 10 journal paper. So how many total journal paper that you need to find? 50, at least for final year project. Okay, 50 references. Okay, but don't be surprised. It's quite easy to actually find that paper. So choose appropriate database. Google is not usually the answer. That's not good way how to find the paper. Okay, start with library resources. For example, UTM, we have the UTM database. I will show later on how to search for it. And then search a range of database using keyword. Okay, think about the range of sources. You can refer to books also. If you think that it's fundamental, so you can refer to book. You can actually cite a book. For example, if you are doing motion controller of a robotic arm. So motion controller, you want to cite a controller from one book. So you can cite that book. Okay, and follow the way how to cite a book and a journal. It's different format. So tools for finding relevant sources is they are what I mentioned here. The first one is that UTM online database. So we have a lot of database here. Engineering Village, Science Direct, IEEE, Explore, Scopus, Engineering Netbase, and SME Online Journal. And this one is the main example of the online database that you can use. And Mendeley is actually not a database, but it's more to organizing your paper. So after you have find all the paper, you can put it into Mendeley. But I'm not going to actually explain on Mendeley because it will take too much time. But anyway, you can Google that. I leave the website here, so you can actually go through how to use Mendeley. In YouTube, they have a lot of tutorial how to use Mendeley. So how to actually access the UTM database is that, okay, how do you access it? So first of all is that you go to library, library UTM. So go to Google. Okay, I will show to you example. Can you see my screen? The website here. Okay, this one is UTM. If you are, let's say I'm at the UTM website here. So where is the library? You are under current student. Okay, and then you can go to library. Okay, laman hikmah library. So then you are in the library portal. So what you need to do is that, because most of you are actually outside of campus, at home, so if you are directly using internet from inside the campus, then you can directly access to UTM database. But for those outside, you can use this one, okay, easy proxy here. So log in using your your student ID and your IC. So I'm going to log in. So after directly log in, you're in this page. And in this page is that you can see that you have database, which is the online database. You have the e-journal, exam paper, rules and regulations. So I'm going to refer to the database here. So under database is that this one means that subscribe database by UTM. So we have in the access engineering, ACM digital library, ASME digital collection, ebook, is by school host. Okay, Emerald Insight, IEEE Explorer, Explore, Novel, ProQuest, Science Direct, Scopus. So the most that I normally use is Science Direct, Scopus, and also IEEE Explorer. But you can also find some database, some papers from the other database. Right. So from here, what you do is that, okay, you have all this online database. What you do is that, first of all, that you are concerned, you need to actually find the right keyword to search in that database. Okay, so first one is that find the right keyword. Narrowing the search means that narrow out the search, and then using library effectively. So it means that you can just go through the library portal just now. Okay, so identifying a keyword is that identify the significant terms and concepts that describe your topic from your thesis statement or research question. Okay, so it means that what are the main concern about your topic? Okay, so let's look at how you can use it. For example, using boolean and, not, exclude, or. Normally we are going to use the and because we are going to combine, for example, the topic on resting motion control of robotic hand mechanism. So you're going to use this motion control boolean and robotic control, or you can use another one, is another boolean here, which is actuator. Okay, so this one is one example. Development is the title is development of a point-to-point positioning controller for robotic hand system. So what do you think is the 5 important keyword that is most relevant to your research for this title? Okay, what is the main keyword? So I highlight the red one. Okay, the red one is the main concern that we can take out as the keyword, but later on you can actually expand it. So if you see here is that the first keyword is positioning control, okay, and robotic hand system, robotic hand, or you can take it out as robotic. Okay, so that one is the keyword there. And here is that you can actually list it up until 10. 10 is very good, but I would say list out 5 keyword. Okay, step 2 will be analyze. Okay, skimming the important highlights. Okay, so let's just, for example, I'm going to go to Science Direct. Okay, okay, I'm going to, and then in under Science Direct here, if you see here that you can see that it's brought to you by UTM, so it means that you can access this. So keyword, I'm typing it out as soft actuator keyword. So search. After you search, what you see is that you have see a list of papers here. For example, 3D printed soft magnetic helical coil actuator of iron oxide. Okay, so go through all of the list and look at which one is actually close to your topic. Example, if my topic was on soft actuator, designing and fabrication of soft actuator for high bending. Okay, example. So I would like to see this one, high force. Example, high force soft actuator based on novel casting method for robotic application. Okay, so you click on here, download PDF. So when you click on this one, it will open this paper, and you see there is that you can download this paper here. Okay, so you download this paper and you can see that what are the what is the publisher, the journal type. So you can see here the journal is actually Sensor and Actuator A Physical. Okay, and it's published when it's published on March 2020, and you can see the title here. Okay, publisher is Elsevier. Then you see the author, list of author, and you can see the list of keywords. Okay, so this one is the important things that you want to look at in a paper. So and step two is that you need to analyze it, means that skimming the important highlights. So you're not going to read all the pages. Normally journal paper is about 8 pages. You're not going to read through everything, but you're going to just skim it out or scan the important highlights. So what important highlights that you're going to skim out is, the first one is abstract. Okay, just very short one. Okay, when you read the abstract, you can directly understand that, oh, they are going to use this method. They are going to evaluate this performance and so on. Okay, the keywords is really important because this will actually help you to find your own keyword which is related to your topic. Conclusion. So what they conclude in the last part of the paper. So this conclusion means that what are the things that can be improved, or what actually uh they excel in that paper. They actually original. They have the originality in paper. Methodology. So in methodology is that you can see that what type of method they use. Either they are doing the finite element analysis, or are they having any setup, what type of experiment they are doing, what type of analysis. So you can read through. Okay, result and reference. So let's go to example here. So example that I have downloaded this paper. So this paper is on the force sensor, for soft pneumatic actuator based novel casting. So what you want to skim is the abstract, which is this one. So if you see here is that when you read through, you will understand that, okay, soft pneumatic actuator plays an important role in leading the development of soft robotic, blah, 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 blah. However, due to the limitation of inherent characteristic of SPA, constitutive material as well as fabrication tools and techniques, they tend to exhibit a low driving force. So if you see here, however, start from however until the force here is actually their problem statement. Okay, problem statement. So if you think it as your own final project, you have something like this. Okay, so in this paper, we propose a class of high force SPA that are fabricated by novel method embedded forecasting. So this method is enabled by blah blah blah. So they explain about what method they are using. So which is similar to what you are doing in your final project. So method, what you are doing in method. Okay, so everything in the abstract is actually a summarize of the whole paper. So if you think that it's actually helping relevant to your title, then you can pick up this paper. Okay, second thing that you need to look in a paper is the keyword. So after looking at the abstract, if it's okay with what you're doing, means that relevant with what your topic, then you can go to the keywords. So keywords, if you see here, is that soft pneumatic actuator, high force, embedded core casting, and actuating core. So you can use this keyword in your search, your next search. Okay, so maybe in the beginning of the slide just now, you are blur on what keyword to use. So if you're blur, don't worry, just look at one paper and look at the keyword here. So this one will be a guide for you later on to find another keyword or another paper. The third one will be the conclusion. So look at the conclusion, which will be which is in the last part of the paper. So in the conclusions here is that in this work, 3 novel reinforced SPA have been fabricated successfully in a novel casting method. So they are actually proposing a novel method to do the fabrication. So what they actually achieve is that a finite element models and motion characteristic tests demonstrate that the bending angle shape of the bending SPA can reach 360 degree. Means that very good, 360-degree bending. Okay, and elongation ratio of an angular SPA can reach 64%. So this one is what they actually conclude in their research. Okay. Fourth one is methodology. So even in the paper, you can read on types of methodology that they are using. So you can see that they are design and fabrication. So how they are doing the design. Then you can see that this one in figure 2, they share the fabrication process of the bending SPA. So fabrication process, for how they process and so on. So lots of things that you can actually categorize later on into synthesizing your literature review. And last Last but not least is the result part. So result part is something that after they did the method, then next they would like to explain on their experimental work. So what type of experiment they are doing. So in this section, you see we experimentally analyze the force characteristic of the three high force SPA proposed, providing a reference for the application. Okay, so what they did was application on a soft bending exoskeleton, I think, for this project. So they did on the soft bending exoskeleton. So these are the reason and so on. So if you see here, these are example of graph. You have 5 graph here, and you look on how they actually plot the graph. You have the pressure versus force, extension versus force. Okay, so you can take that as an idea how to actually list out your list of experiment later on. And you can see that example of figure when they they fabricate the actuator and assemble it, and they took a photo. What they do is that how they label their photo. So you can see that there are lots of labeling. Lots of time is that what I see in what final year project student is that they do not label their photo. Just put here dump the photo like this without any labeling. So that is wrong. You need to see that most of the figure in a journal which is actually published is actually labeled. So this is how you actually need to follow or reference. The guideline is there already in the journal paper. It's up to you to read it. Okay. And lastly is the reference. So reference is important. Why? Actually, it's going to expedite your reference and paper review, because from the keyword just now, they actually help you to actually make a summary of the reference. So you can choose in the list of reference here which part which is important or relevant to your research. And one thing that that student should do is that please take out the paper which is the latest 10 years. That means that now is 2020, so the paper should be 2010 to 2020 at least. If you have books that is actually published in back in 2005, it's okay if it's books. But when we talk about journal paper, it should be the latest 10 years. Okay. So my question here is that what process did you went through after skimming the paper other than chapter 2? Okay, in chapter 2 is that you did the literature review. You recognize what are the problems that you can, what are the new problems so that you can find out your problem statement. And you also come up with the theory and concept. Concept means that, which is fundamental controller concept of for non-linear control, for linear controller. So that those are the concept that you found out. But other than that, actually, you also, after doing the literature review, okay, what you did was you identified the other component in chapter 3 and chapter 4. What you did was, after reading the journal, you find out that, oh, I can use this method also for my research. Of course, with different setup. Okay, and and also you can find out that, oh, there are few ways how to plot a graph. Okay, or there are few ways how to take a photo and label it. So you find out that when you do all of the review paper in a systematically way, you will find out that you can come up with a very good thesis later on. Okay, in final project 1 and 2. So before I go through what are the component there, so I'm just want to put on the bibliographic style or the reference style. So there are 2 types of style. We have the IEEE format and APA format. And for our thesis is that we are going to use the IEEE format. So IEEE format is something that citation using number in square bracket, and which refer to the full citation list in reference. So example is that, and the reference list is organized numerically, means that if you have a thesis, which is you have 50 reference paper, so we have reference 1 until 50. Reference 1 should be appearing in your thesis in sequence. So if it's in sequence, means that the first reference should be cited in the first chapter of your thesis. The example how to cite is, in the text is blah blah blah, end of the line for my research in bracket 13, means that referring to reference 13. Another example is that this theory was first put forward in 1987. So paper 1. Scott has argued that, so Scott is the name of the person. It means that the author, the first author that published that paper. So we take his name, Scott Scott, referring to his paper, has argued that blah blah blah. Or you can make some summary in terms of something like this. Several recent studies in motion control, okay, 3, 4, 15, 16 have suggested that blah blah blah. So you can combine it into one sentence, okay? Group it together. So this one is example, and how you cite it is like this. So you have the name, first author, your name, the author name, JU is the last name, and dumb code is the first name. Infrared navigation part 1, an assessment of feasibility is the title, and then close bracket, IEEE transaction electron. You see here, that's italic, italic devices. All of that is the name of the journal. Volume edition 11, PP is page to page. Page to page means that the paper is from page 34 to 39 and is being published January 1959. So this is how you cite the paper in IEEE format. And for APA format is different. So APA format is it is being used in the master research thesis. So master research thesis, they are using the APA format, means that the author last name and the work date of publication must always appear. Okay. So how they decide it is like something like this. Michelle 2017 states, or Michelle, 2017. So they cite like this in the text. So how to write the citation format is different from the IEEE. APA do not use any numbering, bracket, square bracket. They are using the name, author name. So last name. Carter is the last name, S is first name, and Odom, D, and in bracket 2009. So you see here, there's different how the formatting for IEEE and APA format. IEEE, the year is at the back here. For APA, the year is in the middle, and you are using the bracket, not square bracket. So different. So make sure that you use the correct format for FYP. Okay, based on that, okay, let's look at an example of how to do the collection and analysis. So after going through all the reference that you using the keyword that you find, so you come up with 50 reference. So based on the title, you have point to point. So I come up with this chart. So we have the keyword robotic hand, we have the keyword controller, we have the keyword motion control performance. So all is actually related to the title, if you see here. Okay, so based on here, I found out that paper 1, 2, 5, and 7 is actually citing is relevant to robotic hand. So in this paper 1, 2, 5, and 7, they talk about robotic hand performance, blah blah blah, using controllers more. And then in this title controller, they are using also they are discussing about controller. So paper 1 and 2, 3, 8, 9, 11 also on controller. And motion control performance, they discuss it in paper 4, 10, 11. So, and actually this one is just the general reference, but you can actually group it into smaller keyword. So you have robotic hand, conventional type, and anthropomorphic type. And controller, you have the conventional, and then you have advanced control. So all of these 6 point is actually the keyword, smaller keyword. So you can use this to actually later on to do your to come up with your review. So based on this is that conventional type and anthropomorphic type, what type of actuator use. So from the title itself, lots of keyword that you found out. You found out that you can actually search for keyword actuator, and you can also search for keyword PID. Okay, for the conventional controller, and FLC and neural network for the advanced controller. So these are the things, keywords, so many things. So don't worry, you will find a lot of paper. Just that in terms of summarizing it, you will take time. Okay, so take it like what Dr. Dana mentioned. Take it 2 to 3 weeks to actually do your literature review. Okay, step 3, which is synthesizing and arranging. So how do you do it after downloading a paper? You download one paper, okay, and then you start reading it, and you found out that you cannot understand one thing. Okay, so what you need to do is that take notes. Taking notes and organize your literature review by technique. So what technique? Okay, so what technique? The technique is that is using this Venn. Okay, Venn. So you will actually organize it into this Boolean. So you have robotic hand, you have controller, you have motion controller. So in here you see that for the robotic hand, there are two papers are discussing about robotic hand and discussing about controller. So you actually group it together. Okay, and in this paper, paper 4, 11, and 12, you see that they are talking all of the three components. They are discussing about robotic hand, they are discussing about motion controller, and they are discussing about controller in general. So you can group it together like this. And you can actually group another one is motion controller only on this part. So this is where you try to integrate and arrange information. Okay, so another example that I will give here is the title design and development of a stair climbing mechanism. So this one is example. If you see here, I'm breaking it into information. From this title itself, I can come up with the keyword climbing mechanism, obstacle avoidance, and motion performance. And then from this mechanism is that there are four main mechanism. We have the crawler, wheel, leg, and hybrid. And then obstacle avoidance, you can use eye sensor or terrain sensor. And motion performance, you have the flat surface and climbing. So of course, for each of these crawler, what journal paper is talking about this crawler method, and what paper are discussing about wheel? Okay, so lot of breaking information here that you need to do. So I take out this example on the climbing mechanism. So in this part, synthesizing and organizing or integrating the information is that you need to transfer the key point here into a table. Okay, so this is what you need to do in your template of your thesis template just now in chapter 2. Come up with one template. Okay, for me, I advise my student to come up with some simple template like this. Okay, so I'm taking out the main keyword here, crawler, wheel, leg, and hybrid, and I will list out what are the advantages. So after reading through the paper, you find out, oh, okay, for the crawler capable of editing any stairs. So this is said by reference number 2 and 7. So in the bracket is the reference number. So therefore, I suggest that when student download all the papers, make sure you directly put the labeling, the file name to that label, reference 1, 2, 3, and so on. So it's easy for you later on to refer. And another one is advantages, low center of gravity mentioned by this paper, paper 3, and more stable mentioned by paper 3. And if you can see here is that for the crawler also, they discuss about these advantages. So it says here that exert high pressure on the end of the stair due to the heavy weight. So this one was discussed by paper 2 and 7. Not suitable for all bedding, papers 2, and consume 20 times more energy compared to wheel type of flat terrain. So paper 2. So you can see here that after you make this conclusion, you can go to the next step, which is writing your literature review. Okay, so this one will be one paragraph later on in your literature review. Okay, so of course you have lots of things. This is only on the climbing mechanism. You have controller, you have, for example, the obstacle avoidance. So lots of things that you can actually come up with when you read the literature review. Okay, now there are techniques to organize. Okay, example like this is you organize it according to the climbing mechanism. But how do you actually organize it? Okay, so I give an example is that there are 4 ways. First one is that by chronological, by decades or years. So you can actually explain, okay, for the crawler mechanism, back in 1987, the crawler mechanism was used by reference that 7, but due to the not suitable for all building, so in the, all building here, so therefore uh in recent years they are more implementing the hybrid mechanism. So you can do that by chronological. Second one is the bad advancement. So breakthrough to technology technique to improve performance. So means that, for example, you are using crawler, but crawler type, there are some researcher actually improve on the crawler type. So you can discuss on that advancement. Third one is geographical, based on Asia. So based on area, sorry. So you can discuss it on area. So we are in Asia or Europe and so on. So you can discuss based on geographical. And fourth one is on question, major topic that has been addressed by researchers. So this one is where when you read paper, they make a conclusion, they can actually, they summarize that what are the disadvantage of their current research done. So that's why you can actually take out that one as the problem statement. So I would suggest most of my students to focus on the advancement, since that one is much more applicable to you guys on mechatronics or even electrical. Okay, and okay, next one will be step 4, which is summarizing and connecting each source. So how do you actually connect all the, after you come up with a table, can you actually put that table in the report and just leave it like that without any explanation? No, So you need to start writing the review based on your table here. So I give you an example, Okay, this is my student report. Okay, I think 2018 student. Okay, so he write out on the type of mechanism. So his word is like, his sentence is like this paragraph. Selecting the right mechanism to be used in the stair climbing mechanism is very important. The stair climbing mechanism, blah blah blah, and so on. Yeah, so and there are various type of mechanism in market. This is four main type, which is crawler, wheel, leg, and also hybrid. Then only go to the next section, 2.2.1, which is on the crawler. So in the crawler here, what he did was he discussed about the advantages and disadvantages. So you see here there's that the crawler is a type of mechanism, can be used to climb stairs and also to move blah 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 and so on. So he quoted reference number 4 and so on. So of course in this paper I did not write all the reference number. So this one is example of the how he write out the paragraph based on this table. Okay, another one is that wheel type. So wheel from a journal paper, you must cite. Actually do the gap analysis literature review, and from there is that you come up with problem statement. So problem statement is that based on this type of category, you can come up using the chronological, advancement, geographical, or questions. So based on that problem statement only, you can come up with motivation, objective, and scope. Okay, so I'm going to show to you example of good literature review. Okay, example of good literature review. Okay, this example title position control performance of a 2DOF robotic finger for precision motion. So if you see here, the contents of the literature review is that he has the introduction. 2.2 is past study on robotic hand. Okay, you can always omit this robotic hand and no need to put past studies is okay. You directly put it robotic hand system is okay. Okay, past studies on optimal design of robotic hand system, past studies on robotic hand actuator. Okay, and then he go into depth on the controller strategies. Why? Because if you see here, the title is on positioning control performance. So he need to focus on that. Okay, let's review on the control performance. So that's why he focused on control strategy. So first one is that review on PID controller, fuzzy logic, and linear quadratic regulator. Okay, and then it will be summary of chapter 2. Right? So one example. So how he did the past study of robotic hand, if you see here, is that this one is master thesis. He's using the APA format. So I just read a few sentences. In the recent years, many robotic hand were proposed and developed. Okay, Jin et al. 2012, Jiang and Chiong 2013, Yu et al. 2015. These developed robotic hand have their own novel design and mechanism. Creating a robot. Okay, this one is how you should write your review. Okay. And then if you see here, okay, he quoted figure 2.2. So figure 2.2 shows two types of robotic hand, which are the conventional type hand and a robotic hand. Zhong and Chang 2013. So when he quote a figure, example this figure, he must quote the reference. Okay, so he's quoting the reference, and in the figure itself, he quote also the reference. So don't forget to quote in the photo. Okay, especially in chapter 2. Chapter 2 mostly because it's literature review. So you're not going to draw out your own robot robot hand or design or something. That one should be in chapter 3. So in chapter 2, the key point is that everything need to be quoted. Quote. Okay, quote means that it means cited. Photo need to be cited unless you draw it on your own. Okay. This one example. Okay, review on PID controller. Okay, in spite of the new development of control area, PID controller are the most widely used control algorithm in industry due to their superb performance in a wide range application. Lee et al. 2016. Okay, you see that the grammar is really nice to read. So this one is master level, of course. I was his supervisor, so my job was to proofread my students thesis. Other than he draft it, I need to proofread also. So proofread normally I will read through. If his grammar is bad, then I will just ask them to redo again the sentence until it's good grammar. Okay, so you see here that in one sentence that he quoted few reference paper. This is how you should actually write out your reference. Okay. Okay, another example, the modeling of a twin axis stable drive system. So the keyword here that you can come out, or you can see that this keyword modeling twin axis and drive system are reflected in the literature review topic. Okay, you can see that the twin axis stable drive system. You have the mathematical modeling because his focus is on the modeling. So mathematical modeling, there are three types: lump, friction, and hybrid. Twin axis drive, there are so many systems that are using a twin axis drive. So you have the ball screw drive stage, linear motor, single axis, and so on. So review on all of this. Okay. Example, this overview. So he is going to review on a twin axis treble drive system. So this is how he explained it. Dual stage system is defined as a combination of cause and phi stage, whereby each stage is driven by a cause actuator and a phi actuator respectively. Reference number 5. 6 propose. Normally, you don't write it 6 like this. Normally, you put the last name of the author. For example, Ghazali, number 6, propose 2 drive unit arranged to form a single feed axis, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Do not put number at the beginning of a sentence. Okay, and this one is example ball screw. So you can go through here. Example ball screw being cited, and then the figure because taking out from the reference paper. So you put in the reference number. Friction model. So you talk about the friction model, and then describe the friction. And then this model, Tuskin and Lugru models are best to describe friction characteristics. So referring to number 8, 32, and 33. Okay, so you see that when you categorize everything into a table, you can easily write out a literature review. This one is a third example, development of point-to-point controller for robotic hand system. So we have the overview and then motion control robotic hand. So you see here is the development for a post-robotic hand. So actuator of the robotic hand. Okay, robotic hand control technique. because this one is to develop the controller. So using PID, there are two different ways, Ziegler-Nichols or trial and error method. You can use another control technique, AI controller and NCTF controller. So this one is example. Literature review doesn't mean that you're going to use all three method in your methodology. You might be this one is you are reviewing that there are three category of controller that are being used in previous researcher, but based on the pro and cons, you're going to focus on only one, which is the Ziegler-Nichols tuning method. So that one will be your methodology that you're going to apply. Okay, example here. Okay, always cite not only one paper but several paper in one paragraph. So you have reference 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Okay, I go through very fast. So I want to show to you an example of poor literature review, because this is always every year I see this type of literature review being written by student. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at how not to do it for the literature review. So first of all is that if you look at this example is we have the title Investigation of a Mini Food Processing Automation. Okay, I comment here is that missing correlation between title and content. Why? If you see here, I have the investigation, mini food processing, automation. Okay, but if I go through the list of contents, I do not find any word on processing or automation. Okay, there's no keyword. This keyword in the literature review. The one that I see is that is image processing, quality, quality control of food industry. So I would say that there are two options for this student. If I were this student supervisor and the students send me this draft as the first draft, I will comment that there are two options. It's either you revise your title, okay, you can revise it to quality control investigation of a mini food processing using image processing technique. Okay, that is one way. Or revise your keyword, because this keyword is not useful for your title. Okay, so remember your title must have a subject, must have an outcome, or what and method to be used. So make sure that there are three main things that you need to be considered in your title. Okay. Okay. Another example of not a good way how to write a paper is that no reference cited. If you go through this paragraph, you don't see anything being cited. There's no reference cited. Okay, that's wrong. Okay, and then this is another poor reference paper, how to do not to do it. Okay, only summarizing reference number 5 means that he take one paper and summarize it into a subtopic 2.21. Okay, he's taking this paper. So because here you can see that according to journal 5, this research involved in blah blah blah. There's no synthesis between any other journal paper. Why don't the students should have been doing, okay, based on freshness classification, find out other papers that is implementing this type of method. Okay, because you see that it's only citing reference number 5, but still good. Yeah, he is citing the photo, but this one is no for literary review. And then this one is summarizing only reference 6. So reference 6, not a good thing. You just take out one paper and summarize it. No. Summarizing reference number 9, not a good way how to write literature review. Okay. And next is another example of also on missing correlation between title and content. If you see here, the title is 3DOF ARM Robotic System for IoT. But the literature review part, if you see, what do you see in the literature review? It looks like a methodology, because he is talking about cloud, sensor, wireless sensor network, Raspberry Pi. Okay, the one that I think that is relevant to literature review is only this one, 2.7, review of previous related work. So the other part is not actually a literature review. If it's a literature review, then maybe how they write this, he write this subtitle is wrong. Okay, it should be written like this, because there is no, if I look at this keyword, I cannot find this keyword in the literary review subtopic. Okay, so in my opinion, this all of this should be discussed under chapter 3, methodology. Okay, because it's not actually relevant to the literary review. It's your method that you're going to use. Okay. Okay, and this one is same thing because he's taking out the cloud, and he just summarized it something like this. Okay, which is for me is not good in terms of synthesizing the information and only taking out reference number 6. Okay, this one is that lack of synthesis and student did not arrange and summarize the literary review based on main keyword. He didn't do the correct way of doing literary review. Okay. Another example, no citation at all. Think Speak platform, no citation. I do not know how come, how did that this become a literary review? So without any citation, review of rated work. So only reference 5 only. Okay, not enough. And this is the wrong way how to actually summarize. The subtopic is review of previous rated work. But as mentioned, you are not supposed to summarize it into a sentence. Means that take one paper and summarize it into one paragraph like this. Means that Kumar point out the important to know blah blah blah. And then next sentence is that Sabin proposed that elaborating among heterogeneous IoT device can blah 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 blah. Okay, Kumar blah blah blah. Oh, everything is being summarized into a sentence. There's no correlation between each of the papers. Okay, so reason why, because the first step was wrong. Didn't find out the correct keyword, okay, for the literary review. Another way how not to do the literary review is that making a table like this. Okay, I hope that nobody do a literary review like this into a table, like doing a table which is comprised of author name, author, journal title, year, IoT, blah blah blah, and tick tick tick. Okay, this one it should be something a progress with your supervisor. Okay, your supervisor will want you to share this one. Yes, it's okay to share this with your supervisor for progress. But in your thesis, you shouldn't submit this in your report. Okay, in your report, something like this. You should be submitting something that I showed to you earlier in a table in terms of the category. Okay, so do not actually submit based on author name and journal title because this is not synthesizing. This is just listing out the journal paper. Okay, no. Okay, another way is this one also no, right? And maybe this one is the last one. Okay, example which is do not do it. Design and development of stair climbing mechanism. Not balance between each topic. If you see 2.2 type of mechanism, he actually write out a very good literary review. But when come to the type of controller, 2.3 and 2.5 is only one subtopic. Okay, what happened to the other? It's not balanced. So this is not a good literary review chapter. Okay, and this one I show it to you again. Reference do not appear in sequence. So normally, as I mentioned, if you are using IEEE, the list of reference should be appearing in sequence in your paragraph. Means that if this is the first reference, so it should be reference number 1 and 2. Means that you need to renumber again your reference list. So do not just simply put here 4 and 5 and then, for example, this one is 2, 12. Okay, this is section 2.21. This is section 2.22. So how come 4 it's early? It come first before reference number 2. Okay, so this is not the correct way. And then suddenly reference number 12. So please organize it according to the numbering 1 until 50. Okay, and write it accordingly. It's appear in the literary review. Okay, this one, okay, summary of mechanism. Okay, this one is the one that my student actually put it in table. This table is okay, but I would suggest that summary must be written into a paragraph. Okay, yeah, according to what I showed to you, the good example of its review. So you have this table at in addition to this table, you need to explain it into a paragraph. Okay. And I put here is that table is not necessary. For me, table is not necessary. The important is that you put it out, write it out into a paragraph. Okay. And remember here is step number 4, summarizing. Summarize and connecting is such. So here, I do not see any summarizing. It's just putting in a table. Okay, next is formulating problem statement to design your methodology of this goal. So this one, I'm not going to touch on it. Just that I'm just sharing that after you did the literature review, next is should be on the problem statement. And then methodology, objective, and scope. So this one, I'm not going to touch much. Okay. So, but I will share this slide, okay? But anyway, I have mentioned that objective, normally you need to refer to the problem statement. Then you can come up with the objective. So number of objective is maximum 3, minimum is 2. Okay, scope is something that you build fences, means that the limitation of your topic. Okay, so you may add that one. Okay, example, I give you example. Okay, this is example of design analysis of a lower body exoskeleton for rehabilitation. So what is the problem with the current mobile robot? So after reading the literature review, you can come up with a list of problem with the current mobile robot. Okay, what is there any design problem? Is there any control problem? Is there any accuracy problem based on the result? So this is where you can actually list it out into a table. Okay, and based on that, okay, I give you one example of how to come up with objective and scope. So this one example of last semester, my student FIP, design and analysis of a lower body exoskeleton for rehabilitation. So his objective number 1 is to design and optimize the lower body exoskeleton with finite element analysis. So means that the simulation, this is what Dr. Diana mentioned just now. Supposedly each objective need to have a result. Means that it reflects the result. So means that you have the finite element analysis result. Second one is that to fabricate the prototype of the lower body exoskeleton. So when you come up with the prototype, means that you achieve that objective. And third one is that to characterize the lower body exoskeleton using pneumatic actuator. So normally, if you just go up to fabricate the prototype, that means that is actually level diploma project. Okay, for final projects is up to the analysis level. So you need to add the third objective to characterize the lower body exoskeleton using pneumatic actuator. So he's doing the experimental work to characterize the actuator. So this one is the scope limitation. So lower body exoskeleton consists only 1 DOF on the knee joint because sometimes you can add on into 2 DOF. External power source is used to power up the pneumatic actuator. Open loop system is used to control the lower body. So here he mentioned it that he's not going to do any closed loop controller. It's only on the open loop system. Okay. This is relevant later when panel they evaluate the student slides. So they're going to look at the objective and scope. So we want to see what are the limitation of the scope. Another example is this one, design and analysis of a soft gripper for small scale object. So first object is to design and optimize the lower body exoskeleton. Oh, sorry, I didn't change it. Okay, just ignore that. Anyway, for the scope is correct. Objective is wrong. I forgot to this one is copy paste fail. Okay, scope is correct. Analyze the bending angle and force of soft actuator by using sensor and focus on electro-pneumatic circuit to control soft actuator. Okay, so don't worry, later on I will email you the correct slide. Okay, so this one is an example. And this one is how to avoid plagiarism, like what Dr. Diana mentioned. You're going to use the turning in. So for all students, make sure that I think you can start today lah. Register your email with your FYP supervisor to check similarity index. So give your email to your supervisor so that supervisor can add you into the assignment for turning in. And for final year thesis project, the similarity index should be less than 30%. Okay, so you can click on this later on, turninin.com, and see how does it look like. So this is the turning in portal. So you can log in. Later, the supervisor will give you the access. And this one is an example of, this is my student, final year project student last previous semester. This is since 2019. So if you see here, my student, okay, final project and so on. So 3% similarity index, 9%, 11%, 50. Okay, everything below than 30, it's okay. Okay, the one is above 30% is not good. So when students submit this report and then they found out that it's more than 30%, then what they need to do is that they need to rephrase the sentence that is being plagiarized. Okay, make sure that it's below 30%. Okay, so don't do that. This is really bad up until 71%. Okay, and your supervisor can actually check your similarity index. Okay, this one is how to avoid plagiarism. I think this one you can go through how to actually paraphrase it. Okay, paraphrase, or you can use what Dr. Diana mentioned, the Grammarly to edit your grammar on grammar. But paraphrasing is something that students a skill that students need to have nowadays, because you can actually look at example of sentence in the journal, and by looking at it, understand what the sentence means, and then type out in your words according to what you understand. So that is how you paraphrase again without looking at the original sentence. Okay, so that's a skill that you need to learn, and if you do not practice from now, then you won't able to actually succeed in doing paraphrasing. So this one you go through. I just share this one. I think okay, anything, I think you can refer to your supervisor on this paraphrasing. Most of your supervisor are well equipped with the word paraphrasing here. Okay. Okay, this one, I think I'm at the end of my presentation. This one is I already shared to the 4B camp student. Or 4B EKG student, if you're inside this webinar also, you can actually order. I have this book. Actually, this book, I have with me the hard copy book. So this book is written by mechatronic lecturers, Dr. Faris, myself, Dr. Pami, Dr. Hirman, Dr. Ahmad Zaki, and Puan Juwita is staff from College Vocational. So we actually write this out, but it is in Malay. For those the foreign student, if you, or for those who prefer in English, okay, you can actually go to the list of reference that I share. But this one is, I would say, what I have shared today in this slide is actually everything is in this book, but it's in Bahasa Melayu lah. Okay, we actually simplify it to make it easier for student to write out their thesis for final year project. So don't forget to buy this one. It's only 12 ringgit. Very cheap. And you get it from your own lecturer. Okay. So just click on this link if you want to purchase it. Okay, I will share it in the chat. Okay, and this is other reference that if the other student you want to refer. So the first one is the book that I shared just now. Okay, the English version is that you can refer to these two books, book number 2 and 3. Okay, book number 2 and 3, I recommend it for student to refer, especially on the literature review. Okay, literature review drafting. So you can refer to that. Okay, and the others are some other slides that we refer to, I refer to for preparing this my presentation slide.